Surat?
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Surat. Are we ready?
Yes, sir. Waiting for questions.
Yeah. Okay. You may be joining. We'll wait for another 1 or 2 minutes.
Okay, sir.
Hey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Prashant.
Yes, good afternoon, Prashant, sir.
Hey, good afternoon. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Prashant.
Good afternoon, Srikanth. How are you? Good.
Nice to see you like this here. Okay, I think we are ready to start.
Absolutely.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Om Shri Manjunathaya Namaha. I am Surat S Shet, member of Team Alpha, Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering, SDMCET Dharwad. Today, all of us gathered here on an online platform for a wonderful webinar on resume building. If we translate to Kannada, it will be like ಅರ್ಹತೆಗಳು ಮತ್ತು ಕೆಲಸದ ಅನುಭವಗಳನ್ನ ಒಳಗೊಂಡ ಸಂಕ್ಷಿಪ್ತ ಜೀವನ ಚರಿತ್ರೆ. Resume is a presentation of you and your qualities and achievements. It will act as a passport for entry to the corporate world. There is a famous quote, Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitramiha vidyate. In this world, there is no equivalent thing to the divine knowledge, and that knowledge will come from Guru or teacher. Today, we are having Mr. Prashant sir with us for giving knowledge on resume building, do's and don'ts while creating resume, and many more things. Now I request Ms. Mahima Patil to welcome all the dignitaries joined here.
Thank you, Surat. A very good afternoon to one and all. On behalf of Team Alpha, I, Mahima Patil, I feel honored to extend my warm welcome to all the attendees present here. It's an honor on my part to welcome our resource person, Mr. Prashant Kurbet, risk manager at Amazon.com, who has taken out his valuable time out of his busy schedule to oblige us with his esteemed presence. We welcome you, sir. I feel privileged to welcome our faculty coordinators. My hearty welcome to Professor Shrikant Shirkod, Assistant Professor, E&C Department, SDMCT Dharwad. I extend my warm welcome to Professor Kotresh Murali, Assistant Professor, E&C Department, uh, SDMCT. We welcome you, sir. I extend my warm welcome to all the attendees. I hope that this session will be helpful. I hope this will give a new direction to your placement preparation. Thank you. Thank you, one and all.
Okay, thank you, Mahima. Now I request our faculty coordinator, Professor Shrikant sir, to give a brief introduction about Prashant sir and a small talk regarding today's webinar. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Surat. Hope I am audible.
Yes, sir.
Very good afternoon to all. It's my proud privilege to welcome Mr. Prashant Kurbet, Senior Risk Manager, Amazon India. I'm glad to share with you that myself and Prashant Kurbet are childhood friends, in fact, best friends. Happy to see him here like this. So about him, he has completed his bachelor's from in mechanical engineering and a master's in business administration. So he is currently pursuing PhD in Karnataka University, Dharwad. So he is involved in training and guiding a lot of students across the state on soft skills. So he has conducted a lot of mock interviews in many engineering colleges, and he has also played a role of HR in campus recruitment process in various engineering colleges. Myself and students of STMCT feel extremely privileged to have an eminent personality, Mr. Prashant Kurbet, here with us. I hope students will take maximum benefit out of this event and pose as many questions as possible to the resource person. And I congratulate and appreciate the effort of Team Alpha. Because of them, it has been possible. Once again, I welcome today's guest, Mr. Prashant Kurbet, for this event. Thank you. Over to you, coordinator.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now I request Ms. Keerti to take the further sessions.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad to have you, sir, here. And my first question to you is, what is resume?
Right. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my privilege to be here to be part of this. I think I also, as echo thoughts of Shrikant sir about the efforts that you've put in for Team Alpha, where you're trying to get resource persons and try to get more information, and that will be helpful others as well. So great job on doing that. Yeah. So coming to your point, for your question, so what exactly is a resume, right? So as I think the previous coordinator spoke about, so it's more to do with it's an official document which talks about or gives details about your professional career or career education that you have, because uh, we are currently in a professional education, right? Engineering is nothing but a professional education. So it's nothing but which gives details. It's an official document, to be honest. So it gives details about your professional career, your achievements, your strengths, and so forth. So this is something to do with what exactly is a resume. So and to ensure that it is official document, so we'll discuss about topics where do's and don'ts in our further questions as well. So how an official document should be looking like. So yeah, to your question, that's what I can answer.
And my next question is, why is resume is important?
Yeah. So whenever you go for interviews, right? So first and foremost is um, before you as an individual reaching the interview room, your resume would have reached, right? So it's nothing but you are representing. So you're representing, your resume is representing you, and your resume has already reached out, right? So that's where the importance comes in. And I'll tell one more thing. I have 100 people whom I have to recruit, right? For what do you call, let's say for example for Java development. Sorry, I'm weak in technical stuff, but I could say I take Java as one of the qualification where I would say I want to I mean recruit them on. If I take 100 resumes, or let's say if I have to just to validate that, I'll have to go back and what do you call, uh, conduct 100 interviews, right? Just to ensure that I have the right set of candidates that currently are. Instead, if I ask them for their resumes, I know for a fact that 50% of them do not have Java expertise, while 50% of them have, right? So I can only, I mean, scrutinize them, saying that hey, using the resumes, I can scrutinize, saying that hey, only 50% of them fit in this criteria, or maybe the job description that I have. So I'll only interview them. So that is something that's where the importance comes into the picture, where why resumes are important, right? And I mean, also imagine, let's imagine if a resume is not professional enough before you reach the interview hall, right? There might be a preconceived notion about you before you reach the interview hall. So that is where resumes plays an important role. That it's nothing but a mirror image of what you are and what kind of I mean professional or career education that you have. So that is why I would say resumes are so important.
So, should I specialize my resume or keep it in a general? Keep it in general.
Okay. So honestly, there's no hard and fast rule here to ensure that okay, you have to keep that either in a specialized way. To be, I have a counter question here. So what exactly do you mean by specialization? Is this something related to your what do you call education as such, or what exactly? I mean, you mean by specialization here?
Specialization in the sense, can we keep it like for IT separate resume and for core companies it's a separate one, or should I just generalize it?
No, yeah, it's a good point. So honestly, your resume is, it depends on job description, right? So let's say I have a job description today, which talks about supply chain management. When I was, and I have the supply chain management, I have only one resume with me. I apply for that role. My resume talks about my technical stuff on Java or maybe C, C++, which is nowhere relevant to the supply chain management. But I also have an additional quality where I have done a course on supply chain management, right? So that's where, I mean, I'm connecting with that job description. So it's always good to have multiple resumes. Does not mean that okay, you are just simply having additional information which you're not aware of. Does not mean that. But you can say I'm a developer, I'm maybe a tester, as well as I'm good at and other things. You can have resumes for those particular job descriptions. So this is why let's say if I have I mean, bag of fruits. So if they want apple, like I know, okay, the apple, I want to give them apple. If they want orange, I know I also have orange in my kitty. So that's where your resume should be catered in a way that it boils down to the job descriptions, because these are very, very important. So most often than not, what we do is we have one resume. We use it in every instance, right? So we don't know what exactly the company is expecting us from, or maybe what the recruiter or interviewer is expecting us from. But we'll just keep one resume and say, hey, I'm good in this, I'm good in this. But we do not showcase that skills where we can. I would say it's a crafty in nature, where I can say I have all these strengths, but whatever you want, I have these. I can focus more on them. So that's where I would have specialized resumes for different job descriptions, I would say.
So, what is the importance of having a list my work achievements in the resume?
So, sorry, can you repeat that again, please?
Should I list my work achievements in the resume or not?
Okay, so you mean work achievements, as in, is it like for a fresher uh, or a
Uh,
professional already as a
Fresher.
worker, as a fresher?
Yeah.
So, work achievements, as in, you mean it's more to do with your um, basic internships or projects you're referring
Yes.
to?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, these are very important actually, for a fresher, right? So if I'm a professional which have already an experience, I will go directly saying that, hey, I have an experience on this so and so. But as a fresher, the only thing I can show is one educational qualification, which they're already aware of, right? Because only if they would have already set a cutoff saying that, okay, hey, I'll be hiring so and so people, I would require so and so, right? They know about your educational qualification to an extent, not completely, but to an extent. But what they don't know is about what you have done as a project, right? So, or also maybe internship. I always suggest suggest employees, so not employees, sorry, so students, to have this in a resume, in a very, I mean, in a way where it can be coming out of a resume. uh, it can be it can be eye catchy, I would say, right? So I can have education qualification, maybe I have strengths, so and so, etc. But what practicality I have done, right? Tomorrow, reason I'm telling is, tomorrow I give you a training, right? How do you utilize that training in a practical way is something that you should show me, correct? So, for example, I you have learned a field theory, right? There's one course which has field theory. I think few courses which I remember, I'll be taking the same names again and again. But let's say if I have learned field theory, so have I applied that in a practical sense? Have I used that in my projects or internships? So that is where it stands out, right? I mean, achievements are really important, and that has to be part of your resumes, and that has to be properly articulated as well. It should not only mention about one or two lines. It has to be properly articulated in a way where we could say it can be a new SBI format, situation, behavior, impact. So we can say this was situation, this is where the behavior was from my end, and this is the impact that I have at the end. So in summing up in the 3 4 lines, which is something that would really help. So yes, this again is a very good point. So we should at least list a lot of achievements that we have.
So, what resume format is best to use, and what mistakes we can try to avoid while writing the resume?
Okay. I mean, there's no format, I would say. There's no format, but I would say the structure. I would talk about the structure. Some people may use, I mean, different color coding and stuff, but I think um, I would say it as less jazzy as it can be. Let's let because it's a professional document, right? So sometimes I feel I have seen in students using different multiple colors, or maybe their photographs, or maybe in the color font. So let's be let it be more professional, but again it depends on individual to individual who will be reviewing that. But I would talk about the format. So format would start with your name first, right? And your email address, your phone number, and if you have any LinkedIn profile as such. And email address is an important and integral part, because they might be reaching out to you in case they prefer to take you to the next round. But maybe email address is something where all of us should work. It should be a professional one, right? You may have your personal email addresses, probably do not use them, but have a professional ID, which it can also link to a LinkedIn profile, right? If it's have a LinkedIn profile also, it's good to use that, because when I see that, okay, hey, this person has a LinkedIn profile, let me open that, see, and maybe I would have listed some more information in my LinkedIn profile. Usually that comes in handy for the people who have professional experience in the past, but it's good to have for I think students, um, to have these information. I repeat again, it's a name, email address, your phone number where they can contact you on, and if possible a LinkedIn profile. So that is the initial part. And the second part, which would be, I think I've seen a lot of them who are missing out, is on objective, right? It's always objective should be a part of a resume, right? Objective as in like what I want to do, right? And how I contribute to the organization. Let's say if my objective is I want to be a professional in the next 5-10 years, and I want to do this, I want to do that. Yes, fine. But as a recruiter, think from my perspective, I'm fine. I would say, oh, hey Prashant, I know that you want to grow in the next 5 or 10 years, you want to grow in so and so aspects, but what how will you help me, right? So that is where your inputs to the organization come into the picture, where you talk about, hey, this is where I'm good at, that is where I mean, due to this, probably this will benefit the organization, and also it will grow hand in hand, right? When a person individual grows, and the company grows, if the company grows, an individual also grows. So it's always hand in hand. So we'll have to draw that line as well to talk about objective, right? Third would be, I would say, for students, I mean, who do not have any professional experience, the first thing would come in as educational qualification. And again, I have seen people where they always put your education qualification in chronological order, where it starts from your current education, right? So I am pursuing my bachelor in engineering, so that will come first, then probably your pre-university course, then probably your SSLC, right? Do not start with your SSLC, then come in a reverse chronological order, right? So, and also I've seen, I mean, the reason I'm telling this is I've scrutinized a lot of resumes, so probably I'll be highlighting few pointers where that should have not been done, right? So where they use short forms most often than not, so that can be avoided as much as possible. Please avoid that short forms, and use a semester or a CGPA, whatever it is, have it in a professional way. So this is more to do with the educational qualification. It might be in a box type, or maybe on a note or a generic note. That's okay, but use educational qualification after that. Then I think the fourth point which you talk about is maybe accomplishments, or I would say projects or achievements, right? So I mean, you have done an internship, right? So that means you've already been in an organization setup for a month or so, which is a very good value add for anyone, right? So if I'm in a professional setup for a month, I know how it works. It's not like, okay, I'm just a student, I do not know how a professional setup works at all, right? So you can also talk about your how did you do an internship, what was your learning from internships. See, resumes, you may not be able to put each and every aspect of it, but at least few pointers, right? So again, I can follow the format like SBI format, any formats if you want. So this is what the situation was. This is the behavior, and how as a student, how that professional expertise and internship changed you, or maybe I would say you're involved in a project with 3 to 4 members, how the team building activities came to the picture, where you were leading it, if not, if you're a good team player, all those things will come into the picture. So good to talk about your accomplishments, achievements, or projects. Do not talk about extracurricular activities here, so that will have a separate section for that. But this will, after educational qualification, you're talking about your projects, right? And projects, I have seen people where they're only talking about the technical stuff there, right? Whenever I ask you in a technical interview, I know that you guys are wonderful in that. But apart from technical, you can also, I mean, talk about a few things, maybe leadership, maybe team building skills, where that helped you, right? So that can be one of the pointer there. And after that, you can say your skills. I think there's one of the question someone spoke. We also have this skills for certifications or professional enhancements. So in skills, what I would say is it's a very interesting point that let's say in the skills I listed as C or C++, right? Which means my understanding is this person knows everything about C, C++. The interviewer can ask you any question on C, C++. And if you say, hey, I do not know this part of C or this question, it may, when you say that, that will be a negative thing. Instead, what you can do in your resume itself is you can mention what is your what do you say professional expertise. Let's say advanced C or basics of C++, or maybe there'll be versions like if you say I can relate to a few mechanical engineering where we can say AutoCAD or 2.0 versions, 2.0. So you can refer, even only put that which you know, right? Then your even questions will be restricted to those particular pointers, saying that hey, I only know about this, and you can ask any questions on those particular pointers. So that is where your skills or certification or professional enhancements come into the picture. um, Again, put ensure that your skills or professional expertise also relating that to the job description, right? If they ask about X and if you have Y, probably they may not match up, right? So that is also important factor, because if they're looking for a developer and I say I know AutoCAD, so probably that may not match. So that again is an important thing. You should always be in focus about the job description, what are the expectations, and basis that you will have to start building your resume also, right? I think the next point would be the extracurricular activities or accolades, I would say. We can talk about your uh, kind of 1 or 2 events. Do not, I have seen instances where they would have put half a page only on extracurricular activities. Don't do that. You can just note few pointers. The reason why you were talking about extracurricular is probably in a team setup or a team environment. If you're also doing that, probably maybe your team bonding skills would be better, right? Because you have played a sport, like sport always requires team bonding skills. So that will definitely help in your professional career also. And also, to be honest, you'll have to stay physically and mentally healthy, so that also will be come into the picture to be ensure that you're more productive in anything that you do. So those pointers. Then you can say your personal details. Try to avoid probably date of birth or religion as such, because that is not important. You can talk about your languages known. If you have, let's say, if you have learned a German course or something like that, probably you can indicate that in your skills, or maybe at the end saying that I've learned A2 in German or A3 in German, or and so and so, and your location preference if you want. So again, I'll repeat that. So you can start with your name, app, email address, phone number, LinkedIn profiles, if at all you have a LinkedIn profile. If not, that's okay. Then comes your objective, then comes your educational qualification, then comes your projects. I would also say accomplishments or achievements. Then comes your skills or professional enhancements. Skills is nothing but your courses that you do usually. Then comes extracurricular activities or accolades. where we talk about sports or anything that you're involved in, probably your social engagement also, how you're good in social engagement, because that is very important in a team building activity. Then your personal details. So that is how your resume structure or format should be. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, sir. And what are the important keywords and why should we use it?
Yeah. So an example, right? So um, let's say take your favorite sweet, and probably I have two bowls of sweet, one with a kaju and kishmish, the other one bland, right? Which will be more appealing for everyone, even though some may not like kishmish or kaju, but appealing in a appealing sense, the one which has kaju and kishmish will appeal us more than the other one. The reason why I'm talking about this is that is where keywords come into picture. They play a very, very important role. Okay. And a recruiter will not have all day long to check your resume, right? In the initial scrutiny round. So they'll just say, hey, they know about the job description, right? They'll just look at a resume. And if the keywords of the JD match your profile, that is where they say, hey, this is something that I can go for. Okay. Because they'll not take or spend they may not spend time to go through each and every line whether it's related to that or not. Again, to the same pointer, I need a Java developer, and I've never written anything on Java in my resume, or somewhere in the corner will not help, right? So to your question, so keywords play an important role in your resume, which will always be tagged back to the job description. um, yeah, and also as I said, like honestly, how it works is initially there'll be a recruiter who will screen the profiles first. He will ensure that this is matching the job description, then only it will go to an interview. It will not directly go to interviewer initially, but they'll be screened. So while screening, they will know, okay, these keywords match the job description. So resume keywords should be, as I said, like pointing back to your job description. Maybe it talks about job summary. Look for basic qualification in job description, preferred qualification in job description. Maybe let's say, for example, excuse me, um, basic qualification for every one of you will be same, right? If the job description has a preferred qualification of one of the languages extra, which you know, okay, so that will be a key pointer, keyword, right? Or maybe even a basic qualification can be a keyword. Maybe they talk about uh, the person has to be what do you call good in team building skills and so and so. So that can also be a keyword. So it all boils. Read the job description 10 times, then build your resume. Is what my understanding and suggestions.
So, as a fresher, if I have never created my resume before, now I have to create one. So, what are your suggestions?
Yeah, I think suggestions would be the same thing, that you can use the format, one thing. Okay. Second would be, I think, a few do's and don'ts which I'll talk about. um, is avoiding short forms, as I said, is something that you'll have to be very cognizant about, right? And proofreading your resume. So let's go to the building resume, then I'll come back after you do how to proofread also, right? So objective is an important aspect. So do not ensure that that's part of the active resume as well, and try to avoid these generic things, right? um, Achievements, I've seen people who have listed 15 achievements, like I'm good, I'm honest, I'm a hard worker, I'm smart worker. That's okay, right? They're very generic in nature. I can write 2 to 3 pages of myself about that, but that will not add up to my resume, right? So such things as to avoid. Unprofessional email IDs is something that you'll have to avoid. Font sizes, right? So I have seen where objective would be one in one font, your educational qualification will be in one font, which is a no-no. Everything will be in the same font. Sorry, it's not the same font, but the heading should be in one font, and the font size I'm talking about can be different, but the fonts should be same entirely throughout. Okay, and include your internships, projects, and it's a very simple document. It's not like let's not complicate that. Resume is a very, very simple document. It's a professional document. And once you follow all those steps, right? Once you And also do a spell or grammar check, right? You can use a lot of, I mean, you can use a Word or a Google Doc or anything to what do you call, build your resume. You can do a grammar check or a spell check. Then you can take a printout of it, proofread it, read every single line, right? Because every single dot or a comma or a line or a word represents you, right? If you leave, let's say if you leave left a margin incorrectly, that shows may give me a feeling that you're not serious about. If you're not serious on your resume, probably you may not be serious. They have some preconceived notions, right? So as a fresher, when you start developing your resume, ensure that you have enough information to be entered in the resume. If not, try to get some. Right? If I say I do not have a skill set on more skill sets or certification programs, get them. That's okay. One or two, right? So it's not only the certification that is matters. It's knowledge that matters, right? So that is very very important. So as I said, it's a professional document. You have to follow those steps which I mentioned earlier and how the format should be, and do's and don'ts which I spoke. So that is where I think your total resume will look good. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir. Why does resume need to be sharply focused?
Why does a resume need to be
Sharply
sharply
focused.
focused? Why or where?
Um, it can be both, sir.
Okay. Uh, Sharply focused. The reason being, as I said, it's a professional document and it reaches the person before you do. Right. That's where it has to be very sharply focused. And to the question where, probably you can see where are the objectives are. Okay, keywords put in into job description. I think I like the kind of what do you call, um, questions that you all have, because the keywords and all those pointers are really important, and you have a very fair idea about all these, which I'm very glad to know, right? So these are very very important. I mean, the focus areas where I sharply focus, or focus areas I could say, would be one, your qualification, your objectives, right, and your keywords putting to job descriptions, and how you write your skills, plus how you write your what do you call, projects or internships. So that is where your resume need to be sharply focused on. But as I said, whenever I read, those keywords should be coming out in a way where I can see, hey, these are the keywords that come out. But once that resume building part is done, so I think and everything boils down to how you can explain it. That's the second part, right? So I have done so and so, so and so, but am I able to explain it in a one-to-one or a face interview? That is also is an important aspect. The reason why I'm telling is, your resume is fantastic, right, but you're not able to explain it, does not make sense. So it both has to go in hand in hand. If we spend 100% of time only building a resume and 0% in developing yourself, that also will not help. So it should go both hand in hand. So these are the three pointers I would say where your resume should be sharply focused on: objectives, keywords, and qualifications.
Yeah. So, how important it is to mention the certifications and what kind of certifications we need to mention in our resume?
Yeah, any certification that is relevant to the job, you can just mention that. So again, it can be in the skills which I mentioned in the resume structure, resume format. In the skills, you can mention uh, what kind of what kind of certifications that you have. That's okay that you can mention other skills which maybe are not part of job description, because I may also say, I know it, in addition to what you say, I also know this, right? But if they let's say, for example, again, I'll take the example of Java, or you can give me any other example if it's kind of a repetitive one. But let's say my basic qualification expected is Java. I write everything apart from Java. Okay, that's one instance. Second, my basic qualification is Java. I write Java, and in addition to that, I write other certificates also. Okay, so I can say the first one will not help me because it's not relating to the basic qualification. The second will help. Anything that you have done as a certification, that's okay to go in your resume. That's totally fine, right? So because it's not only most often than not we see the resumes will be very blunt. They only talk about the educational qualification projects. Over and about you have done will only come through your certification programs, right? Which is really important. So it's good to include them.
So, should we list our hobbies and interest in resume? We get a lot of mixed suggestions from everyone that some say that we have to mention them and some says that it is not required. So, what is it?
Honestly, if you mention that in a subtle way, it's okay. Um, but I've seen instances where they talk about hobbies and interests for half a page, which does not make sense, right? So again, it depends on the recruiter who will take into that account. So it's good to mention that, or you can also do one thing. So you can, I mean, club it in your extracurricular activities instead, right? So let's say my hobbies are in playing badminton. So probably out of taken part of badminton, or maybe my hobby would be to build a robot or something. Maybe I've taken part in hackathon event, right? So my extracurricular activities will ensure that my interests are coming out there as well. So instead of having a separate column for that, you can mix that there itself. But it's okay. It's good to have. Honestly, there's no again I say there's no hard and fast rule saying that okay this has to be like this. It's not mathematics, but it again depends on who is interviewing or who is checking the resume. But if it's mentioned a subtle way, that's okay.
How many pages should my resume be?
One, not more than one, to be honest, right? So you'll have to squeeze that in one page if possible. If you have more contributions, that's okay. You can extra and do that. I have seen instances where people would have put 2 to 3 pages resume with a lot of gaps in between. And if you read that resume, it only talks about very generic stuff. That does not work. Try to squeeze that in one page. If you feel that okay, I have a lot of contributions, maybe I have done a lot of internships or projects, that's okay. Your resume can go to the 2 pages, but try to squeeze that in one.
Okay. Uh, can we have any other questions? If any students have any questions, please do put it in chat box so that sir will be able to answer your questions. And is there any suggestion from you, sir, where if we have left anything that is uncovered, you can share it with us.
Absolutely. So it's not only to do with your resume, but I would also say talk about your introduction part. I think most often they're not, while you have the resume. So when you enter an interview room, right? Maybe they'll have one resume copy already with them, but you enter with the resume. You sit right in front of them and give your resume, and the first question they'll ask you is, "Can you introduce yourself?" So even though, I mean, that is where an important aspect comes. So apart from your resume, also this is also important, where excuse me, how you introduce yourself in line with your resume as well. So most people say, I've heard people saying that okay, I think everything I want to talk about is in already in resume, which ideally is not the right answer. Probably you can talk about yourself, your professional career, and practice it, right? So you can do not try to talk more about only personal thing, but only also professional stuff. You have done one any instance about uh, professional expertise. You can talk about what is your current qualification, and all this crisp and clear on your intro part is also an important thing apart from the resume.
So we have a questions. Um, Afri says that can we use the link in resume?
What kind of link? Yes, I mentioned about the LinkedIn profile, right? So it can be a link. That's okay. So apart from that, any specific links you're talking about, honestly, they may not have that bandwidth to go back and check those links. So try to avoid that as much as possible, unless your LinkedIn or a professional LinkedIn profile. And I had one more, I think, one question about what are the difference between CV and a resume. So resume is for more to do with um, more to do with your what do you call a short format. I would say is a it's a professional short document, but CVs are used in the documents where probably people who have work experience can call it as a resume. It's more to do with a regional specific. I read it somewhere where in North American regions they call it as a CV, and probably we call it as a uh, resume. But whatever I've seen, resume is a shorter version of it, while CV is a lengthier version of it, including all those work details and stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, we have another question saying that resumes are screened manually or automated AI machines will be used for screening purpose.
I don't think any AI machine would be helpful or not required, honestly. So, with the cost associated with that, so because we do not have like huge volumes of resumes, it will still be manually screened by recruiters.
So any other questions, guys? Please do put it in chat box. I think this was answered, sir. The difference between CV and resume. Yeah.
Yes, yes, thanks.
Yeah, guys. If you have any questions, please do put it in chat box. So, is there any most important design elements or very important things that are must and should that we have to take care of it while writing our resume?
Design elements as the same structure, I would say, is a design element, right, for your resume. And must and should, as in, like, even though um, we usually tell that, right? Even though we may not talk about our, sometimes we may miss out on a positive points, but not ensure that we put kind of a negative thought or a negative point there. So try to avoid that, and maybe it should not be like um, in a different direction as your GD. So it should be always in line. So that is something that is really important. And as I said, like we usually what we do is we just create a resume. And one more thing I've observed is uh, we have this habit of copy pasting resumes from our friends, right? Which has to be avoided as much as possible, because whatever what do you call mistakes your friend would have done the same. Only I think only the name would have changed. Rest everything would be same. So don't do that. Write your own resume from scratch, right, from every single word, because you know what I've written. And if there's any question being asked on that, right, there might be counter questions. Let's say I've done a project, or maybe any curricular activity. I have been part of hackathon event or whatever it is. So there might be questions, or interviewer might be asking you based on that. Um, so I mean, just ensure that those particular things are followed right to the T. So that is important. And as I said, like every we have a format. Probably what happens in colleges or students would be we have a format, and probably everyone try to replicate the same format. That is okay, but don't replicate the resume itself. Try to replicate the format or a template. To have a template, you can circulate that template to everyone, which is well and good. That's okay. But copy paste errors, I mean, will prove you very costly. So becomes important.
Yeah, we have another question, sir. What websites do you suggest to build as well as check for the correctness of our resume?
Uh, I mean, websites, I don't know, because I've never visited any website to build my resume, because it's my resume. I know what to write and what not to, right? So try to, I mean, write it by your own. And correctness of your resume, you can use your spell check and grammar to check the correctness of your resume. And see, I know that with Google you have tons of information. on the internet, right? On website, a lot of number of websites. Probably you can have templates. You can use templates. I'm fine with that. You can even Excel's, or maybe I think Google Docs might have a lot of templates. But building and using that, probably can use some words like accomplishments, instead of I mean co-create activities. You can use social engagements and all those things. That would help. But I would not suggest you to completely rely on a website just to build your own resume, because it's your own resume and you know what to write. So that is very important.
Okay, we have another question. Hobby projects plays important role in resume building.
Yeah,
Does it?
absolutely. So maybe your hobby project may be technical or non-technical. That's okay, but it's a project at the end, and you're trying to do something practically, right? So let's say I've learned something, and maybe maybe it's not part of my uh, uh, education, or I would say your technical education, sorry, requirement as a project, but I'm interested in building something, right? So that is my hobby project. So yes, that's an important thing, because that's also talks about how interested you are to use whatever you learned and to put in a practical way. So I would rate this highly, to be honest. It shows more. It talks about ownership, saying that okay, this person is not only sticking to what he's learning, he's also trying to do something new. So that's good. That's a very good question, honestly. So yeah.
So if anyone else have questions, please do put it in chat box. If not, we'll be having the session in further, that is vote of thanks. Okay then, we don't have any further questions. So thank you, sir. You answered all my questions and you cleared all our doubts. So now I request Miss Anusha Joshi to conclude the session by giving vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. I hope I'm audible and my voice is clear. Uh,
Yeah.
I deem it a great honor to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. First and foremost, I would like to thank Mr. Prashant Kurbet, Senior Risk Manager, Amazon India, who, in spite of having a tough schedule, took out their time to grace this occasion by sharing their valuable knowledge. I hope is everyone everyone is
I hope there is some. Excuse me, sir. We have another question. Sir, can I post it?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, sir. Abhinandan says that is it valid if we don't have any internships and certification, but enough domain knowledge?
Yes, that's okay, because not everyone um, will have an internship, right? So, or a certification. But try to do that if at all you're not. So maybe once you're qualified to go for the first round, or maybe once this comes in technical round, right? So first round will be definitely kind of a scrutinizing round. So once you clear that, so probably in your technical round you can talk about your domain knowledge. How you explain it comes very handy here, right? So yes, that's okay. Try to do that. If not, you can cover that up in your technical rounds, and try to. I mean, at least you will have projects, right? So that is okay. So you can talk about your projects and how you utilized your domain knowledge to ensure that your project is successful in nature. So yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now I request Miss Anusha Joshi to take the vote of thanks.
Yeah, sorry for the inconvenience. Good evening, everyone. I feel a deep honor to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. First and foremost, I would like to thank Mr. Prashant Kurpe, Senior Risk Manager, Amazon India, who took their time out to grace this occasion by sharing his valuable knowledge. Thank you, sir. I would like to thank our faculty coordinators, Mr. Shrikant Shirkor and Kotresh Murali, who gave us a constant guidelines in organizing this webinar. Also, I would like to thank all the Alpha team members who directly or indirectly contributed their values and thoughts in conducting this webinar. Last but not the least, I would like to thank all the attendees without whom this webinar would be unsuccessful. Thank you all. Once again, I thank you all for having your attention. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Anusha. Yes, sir, we are done with the session. Thank you, sir, being a part of a Team Alpha activities from Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering. We would really thank for attending this session and giving more valuable knowledge from Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering, Shri Dharmasala Manjunatheshwara College of Engineering and Technology, Dharwad. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. I can leave the studio now.
Yes, sir, sure.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Yes, thank you guys for attending the wonderful session. We hope that this session gave you more and more information and clarified all of your doubts. Okay, I have one question here. Now I will try to answer this. Okay, Arif, I done the online internship. Can I mention platform or company name? Yes, Arif, you can mention company name and all. I think sir covered in the session. If not, you can go back. Means the video is available. Okay, you can go back and you can clear with your doubts. Okay, thank you guys for attending the session.
Thank you guys for attending. Let's conclude it. You can leave the meet.
Okay, bye bye.